You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW LP Conroe and 106.1 KZCC LP Conroe and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Legal Connection with Toni and Cheryl. Toni Lynn Collins and Cheryl Ellsworth Jahani. We are two Texas licensed attorneys, and we are here live every Tuesday from 12 to 1 p.m. on 104.5 and 106.1. And we are just here as a public service to help you. We talk about various legal subjects and answer your questions. You can watch us live on Facebook, and you can also download us on Google Play and iTunes and listen to the podcast. And that podcast is available tomorrow. Wednesday is the next day because this is Tuesday. It's available tomorrow in the morning, and you can listen whenever you feel like it. So we want to welcome you to our show today. Today we are going to be talking about updates on criminal law and what's going on in Texas. As far as some criminal law, you know, there's some DWI changes and things like that that I think are going to be interesting. And if we get to it, then we're going to discuss gun law.
Yes.
So, Toni, some interesting things. But I got to tell you the story that happened to me the other day. That was crazy.
Did you do something wrong? Did you get pulled over?
No, thank God I didn't. I had a client, DWI client, and he was on pretrial diversion. For our listeners,
Right.
That's a contract that you enter into and with the county that you're gonna
With the prosecutors.
Not
Not the court, but the actual prosecutors make a deal with you. So you're not even approaching the judge. It is almost like a Rule 11 agreement, a settlement, but between the state prosecutors and the criminal defense attorney or the client if they're not represented. Usually they're represented.
right. So it's the prosecutors and the client, the accused,
Agreeing that you will not be found guilty of a DWI if you comply with certain requirements during a period of usually about a year, including having the interlock in your car and behaving and that kind of thing. And again, it's only available to people that are first timers. It's given them like a second chance, a break, because they are not criminals. They just may have made a mistake leaving a bar, and a little bit over the limit, perhaps. Usually they can't be too high over the limit. Anyway, pretrial interventions, great thing to do.
Yeah, it sure is. And like you were saying, it's only available if you've never been convicted of a DWI before.
Right, or any crime for that matter. You have to have a clean record. This is just somebody that basically it was enacted, I think, for the most part, for somebody that was probably leaving a restaurant and just may have had, left a little bit too early, and their blood alcohol level was over 0.08 because, the waitresses, the wine list, I mean, it's very common these days for you to leave, and I haven't because I don't drink, but designated driver, people, designated driver. Go to that restaurant and have your Uber, your Lyft, your designated driver, because can't drive under the influence, and 0.08 is just 2 drinks away.
That's so true. How many drinks is 0.08? 2 drinks?
It's not very many at all.
Really?
Yeah. Well, it depends on how big you are, I guess. 2
And
drinks
how
to a,
fast you drink it,
Yeah,
and
right,
how
right,
long
right.
you wait. Like you're saying, wait a little bit before you leave and stuff like how much you've got on your stomach, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I've got this hearing scheduled for Wednesday. My client and I go and find out that and he's on pretrial diversion for DWI. We find out that there's been a warrant issued for his arrest.
Is it this coming up like tomorrow?
No, it was last Wednesday.
Okay, got it. Okay. Oh,
But the craziest thing happened, and I want our listeners to know this because there's a lot of talk, and we talk a lot
Right.
about don't get a DWI in Montgomery County.
Right.
Montgomery County is notorious in this whole state for being very hard on drunk driving and all of that. And
Which, and on the one hand, is great. It should be because it protects the public. On the other hand, we have an awful lot of bars up and down 45, and we have a lot of people. There's something called I was talking to a police officer in Harris County. He said there's a federal act or some kind of program where you can get federal funding if in particular quarters of the state, and particularly up and down I-45 where all the bars and stuff are, and over by Market Square and what have you, where if they have a certain number of DWIs, then they would, this is a targeted area, and they get federal funding if they get so many arrests out there. So they actually target the areas.
Well, federal funding. It's incentives.
Right,
They get
incentives, right,
incentives.
right.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody knows that. It's unfortunate. I think it's wrong.
I didn't know it. I asked, I'm like, why are the Montgomery County officers, who I love these guys, I
Yeah.
mean, just talk to them in the courts and at auctions and stuff. They are the best people ever. Why are these generally really nice people arresting all of my clients and friends just after they're leaving a bar and actually watching them? And they said, this guy was telling me, this officer
They're
said,
incentives.
and then you have some that say, no, I'll just take their keys and throw it in the field. I'm not going to do anything with it if they really can't drive. But yeah, the incentives, and so they go after you. So be careful, people in Montgomery County. Don't get your Uber or your Lyft, because it's good for the public, but it's not. It just helps us if we actually charge you for representing you. It just basically puts money in your attorney's pocket and the DPS pocket when you get your DWI charge
No kidding. No kidding.
or conviction.
Yeah. So anyway, we found out. We went to court. The docket was canceled. We didn't know that. We didn't get any notification.
His case was not on the docket.
It was on the docket, but the docket was canceled. All the prosecutors for the misdemeanor court were over on jail docket at a different location, so they weren't even available.
They didn't tell you?
No, And there was another attorney there that didn't know too. So we go back to the court coordinator's office to reschedule the hearing. Well, so this one attorney gets his clients rescheduled. He had a couple, and then I'm getting mine. And the court coordinator says, well, I'm so sorry. I hate to tell you this. I said, well, it's no problem. We'll just reschedule. And she said, no, I hate to tell you, there's a warrant issued for your client's arrest. And I said, what? How can this be?
That's happened before to me.
Nobody, right. Well, and she said, I'm so sorry, but sometimes it just happens that way. So I go over to the DA's office. And
Well, nothing happened to them. He wasn't there, right? So they didn't.
no, he was there. My client was there, but the court was closed. The bailiff wasn't there, so he couldn't arrest my client.
Good. Okay, that's what I was
right.
going to say. Because normally they're pretty nice about that. It's just the clerks and stuff. They'll say, there's a warrant out. I don't know you're here, that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, and so then the court liaison with the jail came out and said, yeah, unfortunately, there's a warrant issued for his arrest, but the bailiff's not here, so he can't be arrested. And I was like, thank God. I mean, I have good clients. They're not used to going to jail. I think that the court system.
Well, you're definitely not going to lead them into court if they've got a warrant, because that's the last thing you want, is to be representing somebody and then they're going to get locked up once they get there, particularly if it's unexpected like that.
Well, if it's unexpected, I mean, I would have never done it, but I didn't know about it either.
Well, sometimes my clients know they've got a warrant out, so they've done something really stupid, and they don't even show up. It's like, oh, by the way, I didn't just oversleep. I can't come in there. There's a warrant. I'm like,
Thanks for
then I'm
telling
like,
me.
I don't want you as my client anymore. Why do you keep getting warrants out? But okay, people. Also, if you suspect there's a warrant, you can call bail bond places, because they will let you know if there's a bond. They have a system where you're not in any trouble, and they want to help you because they want to get you a bond. And if there's one available, a lot of times there won't be a bond, and you have to go to court to get the bond set. But you can do a walkthrough. But the bottom line is, you can call a bonding company just on the phone to get the information to let you know if there's a warrant out or not. If you're, just suspect there might be, but this was unexpected.
Well, this was unexpected. We didn't know. And so, but the court staff was incredible. This was county, and this is why I want to tell this story. I want my listeners to know, or our listeners to know, that, we talk a lot about, how to address different legal situations if the police show up and all that kind of stuff. But the court actually really worked with me. Yeah. So the court liaison and the liaison with the jail, the court administrator, said, oh, yeah, unfortunately, there's this warrant out for your client's arrest. I was freaking out. And they said, but, the judge may allow a walkthrough if you show up at 1:30. We're going to reset this for 1:30.
Oh, the same day? Mm-hmm. Oh, my gosh.
I know. Oh, Toni, it gets much better. You're not going to believe this story. Okay. So I go over to the DA's office to talk to the prosecutor, right? Well, the three prosecutors for the misdemeanor court, they're young, fresh
over
out
on
of
the
law
second
school.
floor over there in the little building
The
behind
DA's office, the DA's
courts.
office,
Okay.
right, the one right exactly
Or
behind
you can go through the jail
annex.
if you, or go through the building if you walk through
If
the,
you know
the,
how.
the maze.
Right. So anyway, I go over there, they're not there. And so I don't know if I had a weird look on my face or whatever, but you can see these people walking through, and you can tell some of them have some authority and some don't, right? And you can pretty much spot the ones that have authority. And I don't know, I'm just worried about my client. He'd gone to get a haircut.
Were you like dabbing your...
I don't know what I was doing, but none of the...
I'd be saying my rosary.
None of the, well, I'm not Catholic, so I wouldn't say a rosary, but I was saying a lot of prayers.
Okay.
And so these people were walking by and they were saying, can we help you? Oh, here, let me go. And so we just kept going up and up and up the ladder because all the younger
You
prosecutors.
have no idea how many times that's really helped me, just stopping somebody and asking.
No, I wasn't stopping them. They were helping me.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
The
I love this
secretary,
county.
yeah, she said, well, this person's here, the person that's in charge of pretrial diversion, let me get his intern. So she comes out, and this wonderful woman named Victoria came out. I told her what was going on, and I said, and then there's this warrant issued for his arrest. And she said, that's upsetting. And I said, thank you. Because, I'm used to, oh, well, at least he's not there for a month, And so anyway, I'm sitting there, and the DA, Brett Ligon, walks by. Right? And he looks at me, and I don't know what kind of look I had on my face, but he looked at
Like
me and he
Mr.
said,
Bill?
I don't know, ma'am, are you being helped? And I said, yes, sir, I am, thank you. But I think what I really looked like I was saying was, please help me. And so he goes back, and I had no idea who this guy was. His top prosecutor, Rob Fryer, walks out. And he sits next to me. He says, okay, tell me what's going on. Tell me what's
In that
going on.
little area that's up front where there
Yes.
the windows and
Yes.
there's no place to sit.
There are some seats there.
There's a couple of elevators.
There's a couple of elevators.
I've got the whole scene here.
There's like
Okay.
3 seats, a big table, and then 3 seats.
Okay.
Rob Fryer comes in. He says, tell me what's going on. Tell me what's going on. And I said, well, I'm waiting for a man named. He goes, no. Talk to me. Talk to me. I didn't know who the guy was. Nice. They really cared. So I told him the whole situation, and he says, okay, look, I'm going to help you. Where are you supposed to be at 1:30? Because I couldn't talk to any prosecutors that were in charge of the
Right.
court because they were.
But he was the head guy.
Doing
second
jail
in command, right?
Well, 221 that handles all the murder cases and stuff, he's the chief prosecutor.
Okay.
So he's Brett Ligon's chief prosecutor.
Right. He's like Malachi. It's like second in command.
He's those guys that, I'm scared of. I'm scared of. Thank God I didn't know who he was. And he turned out to be a great guy. He shows up, he helps me. He says, oh, when we finally go to court, he walked in and was like, oh, he's here. This is this person. By this time, I'd Googled the guy and I knew who he was.
He came on and like hovering in.
But then he came in as a prosecutor. Oh, there's so much about this case you didn't tell me. You didn't tell me this. You didn't tell me that. Yes, I did. I said I told
Yeah,
you. I
but
told you.
okay. I know you're probably going to tell me, but I'm just so curious. I'm like the person that goes on the internet, looks up the the results of things for the end of the story in the news or whatever. What was his warrant for?
His warrant was for violating the terms of his probation.
Oh, the pretrial intervention.
The pretrial intervention.
What did he violate? When we don't know who the client is or anything, but what was it that he did?
He involuntarily drank. He was in Dallas, and he asked his uncle. His cousin had graduated from college, but I'm not sure which one. And he asked his uncle for a cranberry seltzer, and the guy gave him a hard seltzer, not in a can, but it was in a glass, and he involuntarily drank. It was about 1 PM. So the pretrial diversion was out the window. And because they just yank those, if you violate them, I talked to.
Yeah, but I'm sitting here not knowing your client or anything about it, and I think the instant that you have alcohol hitting your lips and you're not supposed to, he should have put that thing down. So I'm not buying. I'm the one that would be like, no, I may give you a slack on this, but you got to be honest. You knew you were drinking, and you knew that you weren't supposed to. So I'm not buying it. Oh, I didn't know it had alcohol in it. Yeah, that's just not believable.
Right. Well, that's what Rob Fryer said when he showed up in county court at Law 4. But he still helped us.
Okay, good.
And he was a good
Because
prosecutor.
he understood that it was a graduation, and he was thinking that this guy just thought it would probably be okay. This would be an exception. Your client.
I don't know what Fryer was thinking. I know what my client told me, and Fryer knew that that's the only information I had access to.
Okay, so why did he have a soft heart to help you? That's very unusual.
I don't know that he had a soft heart, and that's my point. I think he did the fair thing.
What did he do?
Well, he dismissed the DWI. And,
Oh, he just missed the whole DWI.
oh, yeah. Yeah.
Even the pretrial intervention is over too?
The pretrial intervention was pulled not by him, but by the people that issue those. And so the only thing he could do was dismiss the DWI, but my client had to go to jail for 4 days.
I don't understand. He dismissed it, but he still had to go to jail?
Yeah, I mean, it's what I'm telling you. He had to go to jail for 4 days, then he'd dismiss it.
Oh, as like
He
a
didn't dismiss
pretrial
it.
intervention sort of.
Yeah, like ramped up, like
Yeah.
on steroids.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he
And so-
had a punishment, but the ultimate result was,
Was a dis-
that he got a dismissal.
Was what would happen with the pretrial diversion.
Oh, wow. And so he did, that's a crazy story. He did something wrong, but in the end,
He did
still,
something wrong involuntarily,
But
according to my
was the
client.
what was the basis for the dismissal for even the DWI? What was he mad at the prosecutors for not knowing? And obviously
Who
there
was mad at the prosecutors?
Well, you said this. Mr. Fryer said, "Why didn't you tell me all this stuff?"
no, to me, not
to
to
you.
the prosecutors.
Well, there must have been now. I'm going to sort of the anatomy of a DWI. What was the basis for the DWI? Because they don't just do that. This is not like the guy was driving crazy drunk, running into signs and stuff. He must have been just marginally intoxicated. There was some reason he qualified for the entire program, but he also
pretrial
got dismissed
diversion.
with basically a slap on the wrist. I mean, going to jail's not fun, but I would do that.
Oh,
in
he
a
went to
second.
jail 3 times. He went to jail the night he was arrested. He went to jail to get on the pretrial diversion, and then he had to do 4 days in jail.
I would do that in a second to get rid of my DWI, but
That's not a slap on the wrist when you're not used to going to jail.
okay. But what were the circumstances of his DWI? Since we don't know who this person is, and no one will ever know. Just generically, what happened so our listeners can hear?
He was driving down the road.
What road?
The service road on 45.
That's a trap, people. So we're on
Yeah,
45.
just like
was
Tony
he
was
going
saying
north
at
or
the
south?
beginning. I believe he was going south.
Okay, so he was
No, north. He was
He was going north, so he's headed up from Rayford and going toward the Woodlands Mall, somewhere along that stretch where all the Papacitos.
It may not have been the service road, but it was close to the service road.
Okay.
Anyway, there was a cop behind
Right.
him. He hit the curb, messed up his tire, and pulled into a parking lot.
Okay.
Then the cop followed him.
Okay.
And said, "What's up?"
Okay, so and then he agreed.
He said, "Well, I think I had a little bit to drink."
Okay, so and then he must have agreed to. You can't get those pretrial interventions if you don't allow blood or breath tests.
Right. He was voluntary on
So
everything.
he was very polite and cooperative.
Very
That's the only way
polite
that
and
you can get the
cooperative.
pretrial interventions is if
Exactly.
you're. That video shows that you are totally cooperating. Because
And
otherwise,
you know what I want to say too that I think was awesome about Mr. Fryer is that my client already had $17,000 in it of the pretrial diversion. He'd already taken all the required classes.
17,000. What was 17,000 toward?
Well, the classes that he had to take, the court costs that he had to pay, all that kind of stuff. That he added it up. He said he already had $17,000 in it. Yeah,
A lot of that was legal fees. Maybe not you, but somebody because.
some of it was legal
Yeah.
fees. Yeah.
And did he lose his license through the ALR?
Okay, but let me finish. He already had $17,000 in it. He'd already taken his classes. He'd already done all the DOEP classes and done everything, the community service, all that stuff. And because he blew on the blower in his car and there was some alcohol there, it was all over. And
That
he had
was
to
the- that was
start
that
at
seltzer
square
thing.
And he had to start at square one. So I think what I'm trying to say that was amazing to me was that this prosecutor was hard on him. He made him toe the line, but he also did what he could do to fix the situation. And I think Montgomery County gets a really bad rap a lot. And we've got some really good guys out there that understand the situation. Maybe they didn't believe my client's story, but it didn't come about, oh, you scumbag liar, we're not going to do anything to help you.
I will say, in the defense of all of the prosecutors and the people that work in the Montgomery County courts, I've never had anybody call me a scumbag. They are so polite. It's
No,
so
I mean
sweet.
to the client.
right.
We're going to throw the book at you. We think you're lying. We think
They
that,
do that though. I mean, but that usually. And I
But
think
that wasn't my experience the other
No,
day.
But I think that you're exactly right. If you're in the higher echelon of the people, you're going to get a little bit better if you can just get to them. The problem is that, like the Wizard of Oz, you can't get to them.
It was incredible that we got to them. And it was all because the docket got canceled, crazy. The bailiff wasn't there to arrest him, crazy. And then I go over to the DA's office, and all the prosecutors that are younger that I deal with were gone.
Let me ask you this. How far into the pretrial intervention was he?
He was, well, see, that's another thing, because he was arrested in June. And so he had been under court supervision for a
Right. But
year.
when did he sign the pretrial intervention?
Yeah,
That's
I
when it
know.
starts.
I understand the question, but what I want the listeners to know is he hadn't had anything to drink for a whole year. He didn't sign the pretrial diversion until November. So we're talking about June,
months.
July, August, September, October,
6 to 7
November.
months,
Yeah.
okay.
So it's actually was a year and a half before. So that's
Well,
why.
he only had about 5 more months on that anyway. Okay.
But
So-
still, I mean, that's a
oh,
long
no.
time.
I'm listening to this, and I think that's amazing.
Isn't that
because
incredible?
I've had other pretrial interventions where the simple inability to get the intoxilizer
Calibrated
put
or something.
in the car within on that deadline, 7 days after you sign the agreement. On the 8th day, it was installed and working. They said, you missed it by a day. You are now adjudicated guilty.
Yeah, you
it's
told me that.
gone. You're going to pay all the fines.
Mm-hmm.
And then they've got this on the record when they did everything right. And still a full year on pretrial, waiting to make the deal. So
Right.
that's not unusual to be because you're waiting for the video and you're waiting. So
know.
to be under the watchful eye of your bondsman and your pre-trial probation
and
officer
going in randomly for alcohol and
so
drug
that I'm
testing.
not that impressed with, because that's very common that you have to wait that long before you know if the pretrial intervention is the best thing that you can do, because you don't know what the facts are. You don't know if this is one that they don't even have a case or not. But that you were able to I guess, with your look, whatever it was that you had in your face, or with God's help, or whatever the case was, that all of the stars aligned properly for you to get that dismissed under those circumstances with all that stuff crashing and burning is amazing. So
Yeah, it was
but
incredible.
I will say this though, I really do, for the most part, love most of the people that work in Montgomery County. They're the nicest people.
Oh, I'm
It's
not
just
saying I don't like them at
No,
all.
but they're-
I'm saying that
they're-
they get a bad rap.
they do, but
But
they're
they
genuinely
actually
nice.
work with you.
Right.
Yeah, they're nice, they're respectful, and they care. They're not just over there going, "Oh, all you stupid people." They really, really want to help you and want to work with you. But they know that it's their job to administer justice, and you cannot be drinking and driving.
You just don't know what path you will be taken down to get to that end.
No
because,
kidding.
Because I know that on the one case that you did the DWI trial with me, and then there was all this prosecutorial misconduct,
Right.
and the police officer was lying, and it was just,
Yeah.
and then we ended up getting it guilty when there was absolutely no evidence.
I know.
And we did a really, that was a long, hard case for us to lose on just the looking at the video and the jury
Well, and
deciding.
you know what? One thing that really bothers me about that is that the prosecution kept saying the subtle signs of intoxication, and so they keep
And that's
repeating
not the
this
law.
to the jury.
Right.
And I'm
you're
like,
objecting,
I'm
but
not
the
aware.
judge is letting it go forward, and it's like
I
that's
know.
wrong. So when we filed the motion for new trial, and then justice came that way. We
Right.
filed the motion for new trial, and then the judge was aware of how bad the jury made the wrong decision, and he dismissed the case at that point. So, well, the prosecution dismissed it when they saw that the judge gave us a new trial, and we were going to win the next round, because they wouldn't be able to get away with those antics. So that was a taint. But on the other hand, we still got the just resolve. The final
Right.
result. But you can't give up. Just like with you, you can't just say, oh, well, you have a warrant. You have to go and you have to work and you have to talk to people and
We have to start
pray a
over
lot
from
and-
square one,
yeah.
no matter what. Now you're totally messed up. So anyway, well, listen, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about updates to criminal law. They're going to be happening in September. So we'll be right back, guys.
Want to check out the fastest growing sport in the world? It's right here in Conroe, Texas, and it's roller derby. Conroe Roller Derby is a nonprofit recreational league of women and men who want you to come and check out the fast-paced, hard-hitting game of roller derby. The Conroe Cutthroats practice at Rainbow Roller Rink on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. You can find our game schedule and more information on our website, www.conroerollerderby.com.
Don't forget to download the Lone Star Community Radio app from your Google Play or Apple Store. Bring Montgomery County's community radio with you anywhere with your smartphone or tablet. If you are in the Conroe area, tune in on FM. That's Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1. If you are on the computer, bookmark irlonestar.com as your internet radio station. A Lone Star Community Radio, broadcasting 24/7 from the heart of downtown Conroe, Texas.
From the beginning, the main purpose of the Cooperative Extension Service has been to change human behavior by teaching people how to apply the results of scientific research. By utilizing a holistic, multi-level approach, Extension family and community health programs encourage health and well-being for everyone, addressing values, concerns, and needs with reliable science-based information. Extension programs help people lead healthier lives. We are Texas A&M AgriLife Extension, helping Texans make their lives better.
Is there someone you know who is hooked on vintage aircraft? Follow the Commemorative Air Force and its fleet of World War II planes, including the mighty B-17 Flying Fortress Texas Raiders, which is based in Conroe, Texas. Texas Raiders tours locally and all around the United States, offering the public a chance to put their hands on aviation history. What could be a more perfect gift than a flight on a historic B-17? Taking to the sky on the iconic bomber is an experience that will never be forgotten. For the touring schedule, reservations, or more information, go to b17texasraiders.org or call 855-FLY-A-B-17.
Hey, Montgomery County and online listeners. Thank you so very much for checking out Jazzy Vibes with Soul. What? You haven't done so yet? Well, you've got to tune in. Hi, I am the host of Jazzy Vibes with Soul, Miss CeCe Holmes, and I invite you to check us out every Friday and Saturday from 7 until 9 p.m., where you will get the best in old school R&B, and of course, a little smooth jazz to make it jazzy. So tune in. That's right, tune in every Friday and Saturday right here on Conroe's 104.5 and 106.1 FM, or worldwide at irlongstar.com.
Don't forget to download the Lone Star Community Radio app from your Google Play or Apple Store. Bring Montgomery County's community radio with you anywhere with your smartphone or tablet. If you are in the Conroe area, tune in on FM. That's Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1. If you are on the computer, bookmark irlonestar.com as your internet radio station. A Lone Star Community Radio, broadcasting 24/7 from the heart of downtown Conroe, Texas.
Welcome back to the Legal Connection with Toni and Cheryl. Toni and I are here today talking about the awesome Montgomery County DA Rob Fryer.
Ag Rob.
Yeah.
And our station manager has got connections. We had no
Well,
idea.
Dick is Mr. Connection to the community. He's
Yeah.
got his own radio station, Toni.
Yeah, and now I've learned that we have comfort animals for witnesses on the stand, and I'd like to bring in comfort animals and pets for maybe a parrot. I don't know.
Can we bring in comfort food? I'd like to do that.
I think that when someone's on the stand, they should always have like a really cute, like a fluffy cat or a dog to, like in the Godfather, to put on their lap while they're testifying.
I'm thinking of that old movie, That Darn Cat. Can you imagine? Your Honor, I don't like the ruling you just did. Squeeze the cat goes.
I've never seen that movie.
It's old. It's an old Disney movie. Okay, so there's some interesting. Before we talk about the court cases, I want to talk about what's coming up. I think it's very fascinating. It's on page 3 here. New criminal
this
laws.
is fascinating. I'm just reading all of it.
I know. New criminal
too busy.
laws legislative update. This is one that I want our readers, our listeners to hear. Mandatory special fines for DWI, effective September 1st. House Bill 2048 eliminates the driver responsibility program. I'm just going to read this and then we can talk about it, okay? Eliminates the driver responsibility program and the controversial surcharges that went with it. These surcharges were tacked onto court fines and criminal penalties for Texas drivers who were convicted of offenses ranging from driving without a valid license to driving while intoxicated. Those who didn't pay the surcharges had their license suspended. But while surcharges will soon be a thing of the past, drivers convicted of DWI won't notice it in their pocketbooks. The same bill increases the fines for individuals convicted of a DWI. In addition to the $2,000 to $10,000 fines already applicable to the DWI. That's what I was telling you about my client that had $17,000 in it already. Individuals convicted of DWI will now be required to pay. This is effective in September, guys. $3,000 as an additional fine for
Yeah,
the
they
first.
already paid $3,000.
Okay. Well, as an additional fine, $3,000 as an additional fine for the first DWI, and it's going to be paid in a 36-month period. $4,500 for subsequent DWI
That's
in a
higher.
36-month period, and $6,000 for a fine of DWI with a blood alcohol content of 0.15 or higher.
So you're going to have that fine for the last one, even if it's your first or second, if you've got a high blood alcohol level.
That's right.
In addition to.
That's the
wow.
way I read that, okay? So these fines are mandatory, and they don't provide for a range. In other words, it's a $3,000 fine, not a fine up to $3,000. In order for these fines to be waived, the court must find that the client was indigent. In other words, poor.
They will be after that.
Yeah, no kidding. It's important to point out that this House bill eliminates surcharges going forward and wipes the slate clean for any outstanding surcharge. And I think this is really interesting,
Yeah,
Tony.
but there are still surcharges.
Uh,
It's
well,
still the fine. They're just calling it something else.
yeah, pretty much. Now it's a fine. But see, I think this kind of, the reason that this has passed is because, now say you get arrested for DWI, and we're just talking about the pretrial diversion and stuff like that. Then you got to go to these classes and cost you $2,000. And then you got to go do this and it costs you $2,000. And it just goes up and up and up. And so what they've decided is not going to happen now is the court's not going to order you to go to classes where you're going to have to pay all this money.
Well, this is interesting, though. It's important to point out that the House bill eliminates surcharges going forward and wipes the slate clean for any outstanding surcharge. That's huge.
It is.
Because all my alcoholics out there that have their license suspended because they owe so much money to the DPS, that's amazing. It's
Yeah.
like they've given you basically forgiveness.
I
That
know.
means any surcharge that is currently owed will be zeroed out on September 1st, 2019. Additionally, if a driver's license was suspended as a result of not paying the surcharges, the license will be reinstated.
I
So that's the
know.
exact same thing. If a driver has a pending DWI that occurred before September 1st, he or she will not have to pay the surcharge. So what that tells me is all of you alcoholics, get out there now, because as long as you get that DWI before September 1st, you're going to have a clean slate, and you're not going to have the new surcharges. But after September 1st, Uber, Lyft, designated driver, no more DWIs. And this is for my alcoholics out there.
Yeah.
So if a driver gets arrested and is convicted of a DWI on or after September 1st, he or she will not have to pay a surcharge, but will be subject to the new and equivalent fines as assessed about. So basically, it's the $3,000. I always knew the $3,000. I tell everybody that. And just to kind of clarify,
the $3,000 is the DPS fine.
Right, but
if
remember-
you're found guilty of the DWI.
right. But this is the civil fine. This is not the one you're negotiating.
The
with.
DPS is the civil fine,
Right.
the one you're
Remember,
talking
DWI,
about.
you've got your deal with
Well,
the
that's still there.
prosecutors, your ag rob, gets you off the whole thing. But let's say
Well,
that,
he didn't get you. He didn't get. I don't think that man gets you off, but he
no.
worked, he
But in
helped.
your case, he
Yeah.
was a hero.
He was.
And but if your client didn't go to the ALR hearing or lost at the ALR hearing,
right.
then he would have these surcharges because it's not beyond a reasonable doubt, but a preponderance of the evidence. And it's really easy to lose those things if you don't go fight your guts out. And even if you do, a lot of times you lose them. Most of the time you lose them. You're going to lose your license and have the surcharge. So that's it's a fine, but it's a civil fine. And that's what's been affected by this bill. And what happens is if you lose at the ALR hearing, then you have to pay the $3,000 and you paid out over a 3-year period. Because all my clients are like, I'm still paying this $1,000 each year. Well, now that $1,000 each year has just escalated after September 1st. Because most of my clients are not just a 0.15, they're a 0.50. I mean, literally. I mean, if you're over a 0.4, then you have a 50-50 chance of survival. And my clients get really close. I don't know why. They feel like alcohol is the answer. Or maybe they're just very fun partying people, but for some reason they get behind the wheel after drinking this much because they've been drinking so much. But their fines are going to be exceedingly higher for you if you are arrested and you have over a 0.15. And we just discussed
Yeah,
it just takes
$6,000.
2 drinks roughly, and
to get you at a .08.
right. So a 0.15. I mean, most of my clients that I represent on DWI, I will say that. Well, there's a dividing line. They're either like a 0.11, they're kind of close to that margin of error, or they just were they were at a party and they were just going crazy at a bar, and they're like between 0.19 and 0.28. That seems to be a very common range.
Yeah.
So 0.15 is
0.28 is high.
if you're at a
0.28.
bar with your buddies or whatever, and you drink, let's say gals, if you're with your friends and you drink a bottle of wine, you're going to be over a 0.15 because you sit there long enough and gossip, you're over a 0.15.
That's right. Okay, so this is an interesting one. Medical marijuana, it's effective immediately. Okay, this is Texas. This is
This is
crazy
weird.
to me.
We're conservative.
Well, yeah, but hopefully we're not don't continue to be stupid. That's my opinion. House Bill 3703 expands the state's medical marijuana program by allowing board-certified doctors to prescribe low THC marijuana. I mean, this is Texas, right? For terminal cancer, epilepsy, not just intractable, for seizures, for multiple sclerosis, spasticity, which is a condition in which certain muscles are continually contracted, ALS, that's a progressive neurodegenerative disease that affects nerve cells. So I think we may all know someone or have heard about someone with ES. It's just a degenerative disease. Autism, and incurable neurodegenerative disease.
That is really broad.
The
Do you people
bill-
have autism?
Oh, yeah. Well, do you know the effectiveness of marijuana for people that have autism? It really helps them.
Really?
Yeah, it really helps those
All
poor
those people out there that I know have autism includes. I think that I might have a spectrum form of it.
Well, when you're talking about spectrum, you know, that includes a lot of people,
this is very
Tony.
broad. This says one word. Autism could be spectrum.
Yeah. So maybe
Sheesh.
that's,
Feel like we're
yeah.
in Colorado.
So, well, in Colorado, they not only can do that, but, you know, anyway, the bill redefines low THC cannabis, as any part of the marijuana plant or derivative or oil of the marijuana plant that contains not more than 0.5% by weight of THC. Now, I'm not exactly sure how much that is, but I mean, that is some real change. I mean,
All I know is
incredible.
I don't touch the stuff. I probably I just need to be awake. I don't like to be out of it. But
Yeah, me
many of my
neither.
clients really enjoy this stuff, and so this is good to know that we've got now at least 8 defenses.
Yeah. Well, you know, you'd have to have some medical diagnoses papered up by a physician. But anyway, this is interesting, Tony. House Bill 446, brass knuckles clubs and ASP batons are legalized.
I didn't know they weren't legal before.
Oh, I knew the brass knuckles weren't legal. I remember that happened, gosh, I think back in the 20s. But I didn't know that clubs were specifically illegal. But anyway, House Bill 446 amends the penal code and takes clubs off the list of prohibited weapons. The definition of club remains an instrument that is specially designed, made, or adapted for the purpose of inflicting serious bodily injury or death by striking a person with the instrument. And there will be places that clubs are not allowed under the
It's a
penal
baseball
code.
bat.
Can be. Probably that Negan's bat in The Walking Dead with the spikes and the barbed wire around
I've
it
never
for
seen that.
sure qualifies.
You time watch that?
I have watched it. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so it also amends the penal code to remove knuckles that are illegal to possess, manufacture, transport, repair, or sell. So now you can have it, but this means things like nunchucks, tomahawks, and ASP batons will be legal effective September 1st.
And you know, believe it or not, I've had clients that have had this stuff on them,
Yeah.
but it's but you can get around it. It's really hard to prosecute. It's like, oh, it was jewelry, or oh, you know. But if it really is that, and they're felons and they shouldn't have it, that's interesting. So I wonder, does that apply to felons? My little felons.
Oh, I don't think it applies to felons because felons can't be in possession of a.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, this is interesting. Listen to this. Effective immediately, House Bill 1325 legalizes hemp production. Now we know what that is. It's marijuana. Removes hemp from the Controlled Substances Act and legalizes CBD products that contain 0.3% or less of THC.
Okay, now if I'm reading this correctly, this means that I can grow pot at my house, and that's okay as long as it's for personal use.
I wouldn't go that far.
It says
because-
legalizes hemp production.
Right. Well, I
removes
think
hemp from the
that's
controlled
talking about manufacturers. I don't think that this reaches into personally growing. But maybe it does have something to do with how those
see
are
a
going to be
limit.
prosecuted, you know? But crazy, huh? This is, okay, what about
We're
this?
turning into Colorado.
I want our listeners to hear this one, okay? House Bill 2789, sexually explicit pics by request only. This House bill, it's effective September 1st. It creates a new offense by adding Section 2119 to the Penal Code. This makes it illegal. Listen to this, people. It makes it illegal to send a picture or video of a sexual act, an intimate part, or a covered but erect penis that is not at the request or express consent. That means they verbally say, I want that picture, of the recipient. The bill creates a Class C offense that is punishable by up to $5,000,
That makes sense.
$500
I think
fine.
that's all they've done is clarify the law. You can't be sending lewd stuff to people that don't want it. And then all you got to
But
do is
see, the whole argument is, oh, but they said they wanted it. Oh, no, I never said that.
yeah. Well,
blah,
I
blah,
see
blah.
this being a windfall for attorneys to get people out of this by being the negotiator to the person that received it by saying, will you please agree to say that you accepted this and it won't happen again and there'll be an apology. It opens up communication, but I thought that was illegal. I already thought it was
It's called harassment. Yeah, it is. Okay, listen, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to talk about the rest of these changes to our law. We'll be right back after the break.
A Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show with monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776 to take your first step into the radio world.
Lone Star Boxer Rescue is a nonprofit organization serving Montgomery County and surrounding areas, dedicated to the health and well-being of the boxer breed. Lone Star Boxer Rescue is run and managed 100% by volunteers since 1999. Our main objective is to rescue, rehabilitate, and rehome boxers that come to us from many sources, including local animal shelters, owner surrenders, and strays. For more information about Lone Star Boxer Rescue, visit our website at lsbr.org.
Listen in Mondays at noon to hear Conroe news from local nonprofits, businesses, upcoming events, Conroe Park events, news stories, and information that matters to you with your host, Margie Taylor of Taylorized PR. For more information about being a guest, visit irlonestar.com/Conroe Culture.
Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show, with monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776.
Welcome back to the Legal Connection with Toni and Cheryl. This afternoon, Toni and I are talking about new changes to criminal law that will affect everyone in Texas. We were just talking about the sexually explicit pics by request only. And I just want you guys to know, I mean, I don't know about you, Toni, but I have some clients and, you know, there are some situations that happen. They were under the understanding that, you know, that person wanted them to send pictures and all of that kind of
broad.
stuff. Yeah, but you need a request or an express consent. In other words, do you mind if I send you a picture of my beep? And they have to say, oh, yes, that would be wonderful, or forget it, weirdo. And then you keep that consent if they
I'm
did
just
actually
thinking,
consent.
this is pretty rampant amongst teenagers. And I mean, they're still of age, they're like 17, they're still in high school. They're always sending pictures of each other's stuff. I mean, it's hard to believe, but I see it all the time. It's like, you have what on your phone? Because they get their phones when they're picked up, they're taken, they're like, and I'm like, okay, tell me everything that's on your phone. And I find out, I'm like, You had that on your phone? I'm like, what's wrong with you? Not only are they getting you in trouble, but your girlfriend's going to find out. And it's not because they're not pictures of the girlfriend. They're other girls.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so this is good news for victims of porch pirating. You know, around the holidays and stuff, it was rampant
all.
over the last couple of years where people are going and stealing your packages from Amazon and stuff like that. So House Bill 37 creates a state offense for mail theft, generally stealing mail from fewer than 10 addresses. In other words, if somebody's driving down the street and just running from house to house picking up stuff that's on their porch in
Sounds
December.
pretty bad.
Fewer than 10 addresses is a Class A misdemeanor. 10 to 29 addresses is a state jail felony. And anything over that is a third-degree felony. Okay?
That's not surprising. That's not really changed that much.
You wanted to talk about the deferred DWI bill.
Yes.
House Bill
because
3582.
It's really a big deal because you could not get deferred on DWIs before. It was the Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, the MAD group, made it so that you really were, so you had to get a pretrial intervention when you're only certain people can qualify for that. And this is huge for people that, speaking of people that shouldn't be drinking, but still, it's the first time DWI. But the pretrial intervention prevents you from getting qualifying if you have any arrest. You can't have any criminal history. So this makes it so that if you had some petty theft or you had something that went on 20 years ago when you were, falsely accused and you took like all people do. Well, I take that back. I've never been accused of
But
anything
so
either.
many people do that. They'll plead guilty.
Just to get out of it,
Yeah.
to get, okay, I'll take the guilty, just let me pay the fine and get out of here. And then you're not going to qualify for one of these pretrial interventions. Well, this new bill, effective September 1st, House Bill 3582, allows individuals to receive deferred adjudication for first-time DWIs in Texas. Practically, what the bill really does is shorten the period in which a driver arrested for a DWI can apply for a non-disclosure, assuming that there was not an accident involving another person. The non-disclosure waiting period is 2 years after the deferred period is over, instead of the standard 3 to 5 years. I'm getting a lot of people that want non-disclosures now too. But there's more to this. Courts you could not get a deferred adjudication on a first-time DWI. You couldn't do it, and now you can actually get that. And they've made it so that you can get the non-disclosure sooner. And that non-disclosure, people, is really important because anybody, if you applied for a job or if they're trying to look at your background, credentials, anybody can just look on your record and see that you were arrested. And just that taint is enough to prevent you from getting that job or getting that, whatever it may be. You don't want to have this stuff on here. So if you file for a petition for a non-disclosure after deferred adjudication and you've successfully completed it, that gets taken off of the domain of the clerk's office and various other places where it's not easily accessible, except law enforcement and like teaching, licenses and various things like that. So this is a really big deal. The bill also requires a judge to order an interlock device on any DWI that is deferred, which is very common. You're always going to get that if they make a deal with you, that's part of your punishment. You're going to have to blow into this thing in your car, and everybody wants to say, no, I don't want it in my car. I'm a real estate agent. I'm going to say I don't have a car. It's even worse, people, if you get one of the standalones that's in your house because you've got to blow into this thing at a specific time during the day. It's stationary, and if you're not at your house when you say you're supposed to be, or if you miss it, it's a lot harder than you think to have one of these stationary things, and it's more expensive. Now, even though the blood alcohol concentration is less than 0.15, unless after substance and alcohol evaluation, the judge rules that the use of the interlock is not necessary for the safety of the community. Probation for a first-time DWI with a blood alcohol content less than 0.15 currently does not require an interlock as a condition. But I will tell you this, I'm almost always, if I get a pretrial intervention, they all require, you're not getting out of that interlock with a pretrial intervention. And you're not going to get a deferred in Harris County from any of the judges at all anyway. So here, it's kind of the same, except for you're getting the deferred. That's a big, big deal. Deferred for DWI is considered a conviction for enhancement purposes for any future DWI. A non-disclosed DWI can be used for enhancement purposes. So if you were to get a DWI, let's say in Walker County, and then you got it non-disclosed, okay, then they almost all of these non-disclosure agreements or expunction agreements say we'll agree to expunction. We won't fight you on it, but we're going to keep it for our own county records. So if you go and let's say you move to Galveston and you get one there, they don't have access to once you get it non-disclosed, to the files over in Walker County. So,
Right.
so if you're an alcoholic and you're going to go driving around, and this happens a lot
Just
of
be
places,
in different counties.
just go from county to county. Cross that county line before you get your that's the
but
way to
don't
get
do
around it.
that. Yeah.
I would say just don't even drink and drive. Hire a Lyft or an Uber. Much easier.
Okay, so what about this? Assault on a pregnant woman. That's House Bill 902. It's effective September 1st.
I would say that's not changing the law at all. That's just something that somebody came up with. You assault a pregnant woman, that's going to be.
I
thought
think
it
that's
was,
like a domestic violence
yes.
issue.
It's everybody knows better than assault a woman's pregnant. The problem is if they don't appear pregnant, they're just like 2 weeks pregnant or something. This makes it pretty harsh. You're assaulting someone that just conceived the night before, and that's a third-degree felony. And then they're going to say they miscarried, and maybe they doctor the records. You've got some woman that's mad that you're cheating on her. This is pretty tough. So guys, know who you're fooling around with. Don't be just being kind of flippant about that. Abstinence is very important in these circumstances because if this woman finds out that you're cheating on her, and I see it over and over again. What is that? A woman's scorn is, what is that phrase?
Hell hath no fury like a woman's scorn.
Yes, I found that to be the case in almost every instance where I've got these trumped up assault charges against men because the woman is mad because they're cheating on them with their best friend, or they find out about it and they make up these charges and they stick.
Okay, here's an interesting one. House Bill 2894 significantly expands the Medicare fraud statute and creates healthcare fraud as a state criminal cause of action. That's crazy. That means anybody that is charged with, convicted of healthcare fraud, physicians, nurses, whoever, they can now be charged criminally, and that was not the case.
Yeah, but give me an example. What is expands? I mean, the immediate thing I think of here is when somebody is a medical professional and they're filling out phony paperwork to get reimbursements through the government. That's going to be criminal anyway.
From healthcare. Well, no, it's not criminal. It's not criminal unless you're charged criminally. But this just makes it easier. I mean, it just
gives
says
it actually is a crime now. I thought it was a crime before. I can honestly
they
say
had
I've
to go
never
about it a different way. Yeah. I think this is interesting. Let's see. I want to read this one. New punishment for switching price tags. This is crazy. House Bill 427 changes the punishment range for switching price tags. The offense formerly known as fraudulent destruction, removal, or concealment of a writing will now be tied to the difference in value of the new tag, and it goes all the way up to a third-degree felony if you switch a tag. That's $150,000 to $300,000. We are running out of
not know
time.
that
We want to
common.
remind you guys to
serve God by serving others. Don't switch those tags. It's ridiculous.
Thanks for listening.